time. It's time for the Billy Flynn Experience.
Thank you so much for joining us once again. This is the Billy Flint Experience, and I am Billy Flint, your host. Coming to you live here from Germany on a Monday night. Almost a little after 7. Very cold and foggy evening. But once again, thank you so much for joining. We're going to get into the first topic of tonight. And I find this very interesting because I've been on for the past couple of weeks. I guess I kind of took a break. I had to take a break from the internet because there's so much stuff going on. And I had to get my mental capacity straight. But I came across a very interesting article. And this article is pretty much on the same lines as what is once known as the MGTOW movement. And for those that don't know what MGTOW means, it's men going their own way. And that's MGTOW. Men going their own way. And of course, that movement has been around since, I don't know, I guess about maybe the 2014, maybe 2015. And what is so interesting about that movement, and it's basically a group of men, and this was from what it was reported on at the time, that it was a worldwide movement based on men getting back, I don't know, for lack of better words, I would say men getting their essence back, taking it back from society, more or less along the terms with women. Okay, I'll just put it out there. It's been a battle of sexes. The feminist and the coming of the power that they exerted when it comes to equality. So that's very interesting because from the feminist movement, it was pretty much along America and America white women that were feeling less as far as comparing it to men and men's right. So from that movement, it spread it pretty much across the world, where women of all backgrounds, of all races and religion, and don't get me wrong, it's very well that was something that was needed, because we do live in a male chauvinistic society. I got to be honest about it. So there is no shade on the equality of women to better themselves and their lives. So there's no shade on that. But what transpired from that was men over the years, and I would say maybe it's only been maybe about 20-25 years that men worldwide have been feeling, it's such a very complex conversation, but along the lines of marriage and raising up children, and how men worldwide have been slighted by the laws in each country when it comes to family, marriage, children, and therefore, the divorce and what happens after the family is split. Pretty much all the rights goes to the woman. She gets all the rights. So by so many decades of this happening, men worldwide again have slowly been waking up and realizing that they actually don't have any rights whatsoever. So in pops MGTOW movement, or men going their own way. And I know in Asia they were called herbivores, which is the same type of movement. But I know over in Japan, the movement really exploded over there, and the herbivores, meaning that men were starting to really only pay attention and focus all their energy back on themselves. Okay. So from that, the MGTOW movement in the Western world started, and it spread it, of course, over to England, and it spread it over to Australia. And I'm not really sure whether it has picked up here in Germany, because Germany has a very, very complex dating ritual, I would say. For me, living here for 11 years, and I've dated a few German women, to know that there is a big difference culturally when you talk about relationships, family, children, marriage. The dynamics are different based on the culture from America. So me being an American living in Germany, these are the things that I learned. Okay, so I had to basically re-educate myself, because now that I live in Germany, I had to understand the culture. Now, the reason I bring this up, because again, I'm going to tie it all together when it comes to what is known as passport brothers, or passport bros, or passport boys. And this is a movement that's starting to pick up speed. And I think it started happening over maybe the course of, I'll say maybe 4 years. I wouldn't say 4 years. I would say over the past 2 years, because since the opening of travel worldwide after the pandemic, a lot of people, there's been an explosion of travel. Okay. So again, this MGTOW movement that started some maybe 5 years, 6 years ago, now the movement has shifted, because the MGTOW movement was basically self-defeating, because their whole paradigm in their discussion was against women, and how women have treated men, and how men are being treated and not being respected. So that became their dynamics. And I think they beat that whole concept into the ground, because you don't hear much more about it. So in comes passport bros. And what it is with the passport bros, or men traveling worldwide, or becoming more worldly. An interesting thing about this movement, again, is an offshoot from the MGTOW community. The only thing difference with this movement, the passport bros, the only thing different with this movement is, for some unknown reason, there has been a discovery, a boom in international travel. And for that, a lot of men are traveling to developing countries. Okay, now I'm going to call it for what it is. Now, I've been traveling for the past 20 years all over the world. That was one of the reasons why I decided to move to Europe and live here in Germany, because I've traveled so much and I've had a chance to understand culture, the history, and the people of each country that I've traveled. I've traveled to multiple times, not only once, but multiple times. And I say that to say this, that this boom in traveling amongst men, and you can go on any media social media site, and there's plenty of articles written on it. And in YouTube, there's plenty of content creators that are putting this information on YouTube. So the information is out there. And I would say, I think everyone should, at least research it and listen to what is being said. Now, their narrative is based on, again, traveling to mostly your developing countries. Okay, so you have Thailand, you have the Philippines, you have Brazil, you have Colombia, and the notion is, or the narrative is, that for men worldwide, instead of dealing with the women in their respective countries, that it's best to go abroad to find relations, or, I don't know, for lack of better words, a wife. This is the information that's being put out there. And I find this very interesting only because of the fact that I've had a chance to travel to multiple countries multiple times, and on a few occasions I've met women in these different countries and gotten very close to some of them to understand, first off, about them as a woman, and understanding their culture and how things are done in different countries when it comes to relationships. And I can honestly say that it doesn't matter where you go. Women are women. People are people. No matter where you go, the only thing that there's going to be a slight difference is cultural outlook, or based on their culture and religion, it's going to be a little different from the Western world. But socially speaking, biologically speaking, men are men, women are women. So again, these passport bros are putting this narrative out there. Well, if you don't want to deal with your women in your own country, travel the world. And instead of saying travel the world to learn more about yourself as an individual, they're putting it out there like travel to these different countries because the women are much better. And that's what I find comical. I find it very comical. Now, it is very true that there is a difference. And again, it's based on culture. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play this short audio that I ran across on one of the I'm not going to tell you what social media platform. But like I said, this information is out there, and I want to play it for you.
If you got a wife, don't visit these 3 countries. Don't visit them. And the 3 are Colombia, Thailand, and Brazil. If any man who's married or got a girlfriend, they're not going to come back the same. And you say, why? Right? Because when you go to Thailand, think about this. You got the Thai food, the woman knows to prepare it, the cooperation she gives a man, the comforting feeling. She brings a man her culture, right? The sultriness of her voice. The little soft. Thai women are real soft. They speak softly. And they got the little sexiness behind it if you love Asian women. That's why when dudes go there, they just become hooked. One story of a woman, she told her husband not to go back there after he came back. They almost had a divorce, all the fights that they had for him.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right there. And it goes back to what I was saying as far as their narrative that they're pushing. Okay, as you hear him say in the beginning that he's talking about the women from Thailand. And this is where the information get construed. Okay, as he eloquently put it, the Thailand women are well, one for they're beautiful. And it's almost the way he's explaining it is in the sense of he's exoticizing women, Asian women. And Asian women for centuries have been exoticized from foreigners that go to their country. And they look at the Asian women and, oh, they're so beautiful and they're so quiet and they're so meek. And they will cook food for you and they won't say anything. They're so obedient. And that's bullshit. Again, women are women. People are people. Yes, you have some traditional women based on their upbringing and their family dynamics that they are that way towards their husband. But all are not like that. There are some that are worse than women in the Western world. There are some that are extremely exactly like the women in the Western world. Okay, so you have both dynamics, but the information that is put out from these so-called passport bros is that they're putting misinformation out. And basically, not only in Thailand, but I'm going to finish playing, but as he continued to explain, women from Brazil and Colombia, again, they're exoticized. And this misinformation basically setting men up for an even disappointing visit when they go to these different countries. And I'm gonna call it for what it is. It's sex trafficking. Or better yet, sex tourism. I think that's the better definition for it. So you go to these countries, men go to these countries, and it's not looking for a wife or a girlfriend. It's sex tourism. That's exactly what it is. So you put a pretty face on that, and it becomes something. Again, it's a fantasy. It's exotic. It's different. Other than what one will get or what one would experience in their respective country, whether it's America, whether it's Germany, whether it's the UK, Australia, Italy. It doesn't matter, because a lot of men worldwide are doing that. All the times that I've been to Thailand, this is what I seen. I see a lot of men from different countries, and you always see them with younger women, very young women. And I'm talking about men, not in their 40s or 50s, but in their 60s, early 70s. Basically what it is, I understand it is, it's a symbolic relationship. It's that the women have something for the men in terms of beauty, in terms of the young essence of a young woman, and there's a whole sex appeal around that based on what men see. Men are attracted to what they see. But on their end of it, it's the same type of relationship that is in any other country. You meet a woman, the woman is beautiful, the man becomes a part of her life, but then in return, that woman is going to want to be taken care of. She's going to want a certain type of security, especially when there's children involved. Now, again, I'm going to bring this home. I'm going to bring it home, but I'm going to let this gentleman finish because it gets even more interesting.
Visiting Thailand with his friend, guess what he did? He secretly went back to Thailand three months later. 3 months later, he went back to Thailand. And another one is Colombia. Oh, Colombia. Oh. Besides the women making the food there, a lot of guys are not gung-ho on the Colombian food. But as far as the woman, the family, how she feels toward you, how caressing she is, how sexual of a nature she has to please only you. You, it's like nobody exists when you're around a Colombian woman. And she know how to get money with you if you want to get money with her. She's gonna protect that bag so when dudes go over there, they dumbfounded by this. And they only going to visit. So it's crazy when they're around these women and how they build this connection with them and they see like, yo, this is real. But that's Colombian women. They bring you their culture, engulf you in it. And they really respect men, cooperate, the femininity, the natural forms of magnificent femininity. Mwah. It's crazy, it's through the roof. And the last one is Brazil. Brazil, if you want light, dark, maroon, yellow, Brazil got every color you want, every shape, size, all of that. Mainly the women are fit. Bubble booties, pretty. The women are caressing, loving. Yo, you talk about femininity. Their thing is 1,000 times beyond any of these countries. The femininity level. How dainty they are. How loving they are. It's crazy when you go to Brazil. And there's some of the most beautiful women on earth. And all they got is that beautiful. But if you understand what a Brazilian woman will bring, she forces you into her culture in a loving way. And you.
Okay. I'm going to stop it right there. Because that's basically, what I mean by exoticizing women in different countries. Okay, and they're basing it, these men, these passport bros or passport boys. I mean, I've heard that term before. I'm not calling them boys, but I've heard passport bros and passport boys. And again, what is being said about when traveling to these countries, what they're taking away from is on the surface level of lust or on the surface level of sex. And they tend to try to equate that with the experience of what they've had in their respective countries. And as I said again, I've been to Thailand many times. First time I was going, I was really into, in any other country that I travel to, I go for the learning of the culture or the learning of the history and the people. Because I'm into photography, I'm into documentaries, film work. So I've shot a few documentaries to my trip to the Philippines and also to Thailand. And also when I went to Cambodia. And the other times that I made the trips again, it was more or less vacation. So these are the things that I've seen with my own eyes. And I know in particularly what is not being discussed with men that choose to go to these countries or go to these developing countries in search of whatever it is, whether it's just sex, because mainly that's basically what it is. They're not going to look for a wife. They're just going for the experience. And I'm basically talking about it's almost sad. It actually is disingenuous Okay, you go to another country, and based on these men's own trauma and toxic relationship with other women in their country, they go to another country and they indulge, and they're only indulging for the fantasy. It's the fantasy. Again, as the gentleman was explaining, how he so eloquently explained or expressed himself on how he thought the Brazilian and Thailand women look, and how he was describing the Brazilian women and the Colombian women physically. So his whole narrative is based on a sexual appetite. And this is why I say it's disingenuous, because you're going to another country to basically exploit other women. And a lot of these women are from the surrounding areas. Like in Colombia, you have the barrio. A lot of these women that they meet are from the barrio. In Brazil, a lot of these women are from the favelas. And the women in Thailand or in the Philippines are from the Providence, the surrounding areas or the more remote areas of a country. So these women are not worldly, but what they see when men travel to these countries, they see, compared to the way that they live, we're all billionaires. We're all millionaires. Because that's what they see. We come, for one thing, you're going to their country, just being able to get a visa or being able to fly round trip, they see that already as, wow, that's almost like 6 months or a year's worth of work. Because a lot of them don't get paid that much a year. So when men start rolling into their country, they see, and this is why I say it's a symbiotic relationship. Because in a sense, these men come to their country. And again, it's sex tourism. That's basically what it is. So you pay for the company. You pay for the experience. And of course, these women will give you that experience of wifey or girlfriend experience while you're there. And of course, they're going to treat you like a king because you're paying for it. That's what you're doing. You're paying for it. These men are paying for that experience. They're not going over there and meeting some of the executive women that are in their careers and they're making a good living. And they speak English well. Not only English, but maybe 4 or 5 other languages well. So they're not meeting these type of women because those type of women, they're not going to wait for a tourist to come to their country when they know that they're only going to be there for at the most a month. Then they're going to return back to their own country. These men are not, again, they're not going over there to look for wives, as they say. That's what the narrative is. Go to these other countries if you want to find a wife or you want to find a girlfriend, because you will find something better than what's in your own country. But that is a lie. And again, these women, a lot of them are from the surrounding areas or the remote areas or that are not in the city per se. And again, a lot of them they're young. A lot of these women have children already. So the men that are going there, knowing damn well they're not going to wife into these women up. They're not going to really have any serious relationships with them. Because again, like I said, that will put them in the same predicament as they were in their respective countries. Again, women are women. People are people. Men are men. It's going to be a slight difference based on culture, but when you look at it from a broader perspective, it's the same thing. So my thing is and one more thing. This is not something that just started. This has been going on, again, like I said, for decades. Men have always been, from your top tier countries, men have always been going to these developing countries, throw their cash around, throw their wealth around, impress the women there, and then they have this fantasy. It's a small percentage of the men that do go there that so happen to find a wife or a girlfriend or whatever. And what happens is that they bring them back to their country. And what end up happening, 100% guaranteed, is that they fall in love with that culture. And they know, especially if the women are young enough and don't have any children, well, some do, but they see it's very easy to marry up or to go to something better. So the smart thing really to do is that if you go to these countries, if a man go to these countries looking for a wife or a girlfriend, don't bring them back to your country. You don't want, if you're saying that you're tired of your own women in your country, why would you bring your bride from their country back to your country to become nationalized? You see, it doesn't make any sense. And not only that, but you're really this concept of passport bros is really, it's almost like it's putting a bad name on men in general. Because again, like I would tell someone, I'm going to take another trip over to the Philippines, and immediately someone start to think, or, people tend to ask me, well, why are you going over there? Or I know why you're going over there. No, it's not. I don't go to these countries for sex tourism. I'm way beyond that. Way beyond that. But I understand, again, this symbiotic relationship with the tourists or these men that are tourists that are going to these countries. Because again, they have the money. A lot of these women come from poor surrounding areas, come from very, very poor families. And they see the men, they see the money, the men spend money on them. They will treat that man like a king. And that's what the men get drunk off of. And they think, again, wow, this is better than what I get in my country. On a smaller level, you are treated better, but it's only you're being treated better is because of what you have to provide for them. Again, it zeroes itself out because it's like you're leaving, or you're going after the very same thing that you want to escape from. So again, I find that this movement, or this new movement, very interesting. We're going to see how far it goes. But to me, as I said, I find it very disingenuous, because that's putting a bad name on tourists or the tourism industry. Because they are looking at this. In many countries, they are looking at what is taking place. And now that Thailand has opened up to the cannabis industry, Thailand is set to become the second Amsterdam. Or the second Netherlands. Bangkok being the second Amsterdam. Because now they have cannabis. Even though prostitution is illegal in Thailand, the officials know what goes on within these cities, within some of these islands around in Thailand. So they know, the officials know. but they pretty much kind of like, turn a blind eye to it because it is bringing revenue into their country. Sad to say, but it's true. And like I said, I'm just interested to find out how all this pans. But I'm not going to lie. I'm going to the Philippines next year because I love the beaches. I love the people, the culture, the food, the history. And that's really actually one of the main reasons that I do take these vacations to get the hell out of Germany. Not to say that Germany is bad, but there is a difference in how you're treated. There is a difference in the atmosphere, the general atmosphere. So that in itself is what I champion for anyone who wants to travel the world. Yes, it's very important. Get a passport, travel the world, and in turn, you learn something new about yourself. Most importantly, you learn how to become a better citizen. And it almost erased the whole concept of racism, because once you travel the world, once you understand people as a people, learn something new about another culture and its people and its history. You walk away with a greater understanding of the human condition, and you walk away with a greater understanding of yourself. That people are people no matter where you go. So, again, thank you so much for listening, for tuning in to another Billy Flint experience. I am Billy Flint, your host. Wishing everyone a wonderful weekend, a wonderful start of the week. Take care of yourselves. We look forward to being with you again. Have a good night.